My calling is still the same, though, which is trying to tell the truth. The condition of truth is to allow suffering to speak, so I'm trying to be true through the suffering and the resilience of poor and working people of all colors, and to seek justice, to make sure that everyone's treated fairly and justly. But keep in mind, my brother, that my campaign is just a moment in a movement. It's just a wave in an ocean of a great tradition of a black people who produce love warriors in the face of hatred and freedom fighters in the face of terror. And it's the spillover of that rich tradition into American electoral politics. Electoral politics has been so much legalized bribery and normalized corruption. It's a decadent terrain. Let's just be very honest about it. Colonized by big money, big lobbies, benefactors, donors, and so forth. Unlike England, we don't have campaign financing. Oh no, I don't have the big money. We got organized people, big spirit, tenacity, courage, vision. That's what we have. That's a lot, but you still oftentimes feel as if you're financially broke, like broke as the 10th commandment financially, but rich in vision and struggle and courage. For the American Empire, we've got roughly nearly 40% of our fellow citizens who do not vote at all. 38.5%. I've got significant focus on that particular slice of Americans. And when you really look at, they're disproportionately poor and working class. You go on to it, I've been at it now for 8 months. I'm going to a lot of different places with people who haven't been registered, being registered now. And as you know, we've already got Alaska, we got Oregon, we've got a number of states lined. We got 2, and we got Nebraska in the making. We've got South Carolina in the making. We should be on about 15 because there's low-hanging fruits. Part of the process is you can't even begin to collect your signatures until February, March, and April. So we should be on the ballot in about 30 by the summer, maybe 40 something by the end of the summer. So we're on the move. We're going to surprise a lot of people. American people are very heterogeneous people, a lot of different voices, a lot of different focuses. For me, it's a matter of trying to speak with honesty, integrity, trying to be morally consistent, because we've got a political system that is so shot through with rot, as it were. It's very Shakespearean, something rotten in Denmark, something deeply rotten in Washington. So to try to raise the level and say, yes, when we talk about Gaza, we want to be morally consistent. We're against any form of genocide, any form of ethnic cleansing, any form of apartheid. When we talk about America, and I'm an abolitionist, about poverty, just like Martin King, right? I want to do away with poverty. I want to do away with homelessness and unhousedness. I want to do away with the inability of working people to actually live day to day with dignity. Most 62% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. 3 individuals have wealth equivalent to 160 million fellow citizens. That's a grotesque wealth inequality that's beyond description. You're absolutely right in terms of those persons who are deeply upset, not just with Trump, but Biden. You've got an abandoned Biden movement among many Arab and Muslim communities because of Biden's enabling of genocide there in Gaza. But somebody's right and somebody's wrong about this thing, right? And we have to make a choice in that regard. When war crimes are committed, I don't care who commits. The American army commit war crimes. The British troops can commit war crimes. Hamas can commit war crimes. The Israeli Defense Forces can. A war crime is a war crime, and when it moves toward crimes of humanity and genocide, human beings are suffering, and you have to speak honestly. It's not a question of just speaking to one constituency. You see, I'm not a Machiavellian politician obsessed with just interest groups. I'm concerned with vision. I'm concerned with morality. I'm concerned with political courage. This is statesmanship. This is not garden variety or political calculation, you see. And so when it comes to that, we'd have to debate. It'd be interesting to have a debate with Biden. Let me tell you why I think you are a war criminal. I'm not talking about you out of your name. You are enabling these kinds of actions. He said about Iran. Iran supplies these various proxies. They're responsible. United States supplies, UK supplies, Israeli Defense Forces, and it generates this kind of suffering. They have to be responsible. But we have to make sure we don't fall in any pits of anti-Jewish hatred or anti-Iranian hatred or anti-American hatred. I am a revolutionary Christian running for politics. Well, I fight any current of anti-Jewish hatred, just like I fight any current of anti-white hatred, anti-black hatred, anti-Irish hatred, or anything else. But when they throw the term around in such a way that they think that they don't have to provide an argument or overlook the evidence or deny the indescribable suffering of our Palestinian brothers and sisters, I say, oh, I'm looking at the world through a different set of lens. I'm not tribalistic, I'm not a chauvinist. Well, certainly, any moment of spiritual decay and moral decadence in an empire affects every people in that empire. Black, white, red, indigenous, or whatever. By decadence and decay, what I mean is begin to identify with gangster-like characters who believe they can say and do anything and get away with it with no accountability. And you notice when you look at the black daddies, more among the black brothers than the black sisters. Because the black brothers, there's a slice of them who look at a Trump and see hypermasculinity, persecuted, saying anything he wants, and still have big money and big cars. Well, see, those are sub-themes in the culture of America. It could be in hip-hop, it could be Wall Street. That's an American reality. It affects everybody. The good news, though, is that there's also a renaissance taking place, among especially the younger generation, among the young black folk, responding to George Floyd, Jr., among the young Jewish youth, the young Jewish peoples who are critical of what I'm calling the genocide. In the name of what? Not tribalism, morality, integrity. We have to continually come back to find a place for morality in a moment of overwhelming barbarity, because that's the kind of world we're living in. And we see the fascism on the move everywhere. Latin America, Africa, Middle East, United States, Sweden, Hungary, we can go on and on. Well, if you're part of the establishment, you're liable to be a little bit more consistent because you have millions and millions of dollars coming at you with experts who are eager to become part of your campaign. When you're an independent jazz man like me, those are first takes, second takes, just like in the studio, because it's something new. But the consistency is same calling, same vision, and looking for ways in an improvisational, flexible, protean way.
Whoa.
Looking for ways to not just survive, but thrive. We're thriving now. We're thriving now. Yes, it is a seat of corruption. See, the consistency is in the crack house, you'll find some precious human beings who are addicted to something over which they have no control. In a White House, you'll have deep corruption tied to money, and it's still there. And my attempt is to make it to the White House, call and question that corruption, and be head of an empire to do what? Dismantle it. 800 military units around the world, 130 special operations in countries. America doesn't need to be an empire, we need to be a nation among nations, dignified nation among nations. So you're right, that's the consistency for me. There's a number of conservatives who come up to me. You saw the piece of Newsweek, the conservative case for West. There's a number of conservatives coming to me and say, we like your vision and integrity. We disagree with your policy. We can't vote for either one, so we're thinking seriously of voting for you. But keep in mind, Biden has to make his case. If he doesn't make the case, he doesn't own votes. He's got to earn those votes. Trump has to make his case. But most importantly for me, the point is, I'm not even sure Biden's going to end up being the candidate. I think he's going to have an LBJ moment and pull out. He's running out of gas. And for all we know, Trump might be on his way to jail, and both parties will have to move to their B teams. We're in real time. As I said, I love my dear brother. That's a plausible argument. It's in no way persuasive to me. I think he's wrong about that. I do not think, in fact, that a weak, milquetoast neoliberal president like Biden, who engages in militaristic policy abroad, is going to be a defender of democracy in the way in which he thinks. He's certainly not going to redeem the soul of the nation. You don't redeem the soul of a nation by enabling genocide. And you know, that is the theme of Martin Luther King Jr. when he founded his organization, Southern Christian Leadership Conference. What was it? To redeem the soul of a nation. Well, you see, that's my tradition. That's the legacy of Martin. To use the same language of Martin and then still to engage in that kind of barbaric activity in not just the Middle East, but again, you see that if voters make their choices, whether I'm in the race or not, they make the choice based on the case that has been made by whoever's running, Biden, Trump, or what have you. It's not a question of I have my own views, my visions, my practice, my witness, and I pursue it. If that is viewed solely through the lens of whether I'm helping or hurting somebody else, that's already viewing myself as so marginal and an afterthought. No, not at all. It's ridiculous. I don't even take that seriously though. All of us have narcissistic proclivities. I'm a Christian. I realize so many hatred is shot through every human soul. I understand that. But for them to say something like that is nothing but a rationalization that hides and conceals their own allegiance to Wall Street, their own allegiance to the enabling the genocide in the Middle East, their own allegiance to not speaking the issues of the poverty, their own allegiance not saying a mumbling word about mass incarceration. So I can't take that seriously, though, brother. That's like somebody saying to you, after all your wonderful years as a high-quality conversationalist, oh, really, he's nothing but just a narcissist who likes to sit there with his red tie. No, I defend you. We talk about that brother like that. It's a wonderful question, brother. It reminds me of Roman Empire, military overreach, corruption of elites, helplessness of citizenry, and an oligarchy that makes it difficult for young, fresh voices to be heard to both parties that are captive to Wall Street and Pentagon. Well, you have to bring power and pressure to bear outside of the system to create space inside of the system to create the fundamental transformation you need in the name of poor and working people of all colors, not just here, but around the world. It always looks, you remember Margaret Thatcher talked about Tina, there is no alternative. Tell the people there's only two parties. There's no alternative from Wall Street, there's no alternative from Pentagon, there's no alternative Silicon Valley. No, there's a lot of precious human beings down there who are poor and working class, who are doing magnificent things, and they're feeling hopeless and helpless. Sometimes they follow neo-fascist Pied Pipers like Trump, and sometimes they actually become resigned and say, all we can do is vote for Biden. Well, the history of the American empire is one of spiritual awakenings, moral awakenings, political courage on the street, and then brought to bear such as to create space within a system that seems to be so tight, so moribund, so corrupt. And we should never lose hope. I'm no optimist at all. I've been a black man in America for 7 years. I'm not an optimist whatsoever. I'm a prisoner of hope. I come from a people who've been enslaved 244 years on this land and another 100 years of neo-slavery and Jim Crow. And yet what? Here comes a style of smile. Here comes tremendous energy and telling the truth and seeking justice, and then letting the bodies be the color. Enjoy the culinary delight of our bodies. When I look at Trump, I see Civil War #2. When I look at Biden, I see World War #3. That's Pharaoh on both sides of the bloody Red Seas. That's the history of me and my people. Look at the Red Sea, you see Pharaoh everywhere, but what do? Here comes Daniel. Here comes David, marginalized, still trying to hold on to truth and justice and integrity and honesty, even when it looks as if the Second Civil War is increasing and the World War III is beginning. You don't cave in, you don't sell out. How else to live?